right, number 1. Probably a good idea to distribute the negative, first of all. Okay, so 7 minus 5i minus 4 plus 10i. Okay, now group together. So usually they write the number first and then the I part second. So we have a 3 and then plus 5i. All right, number 2, I squared is the same as a negative 1. Now that becomes negative 7. Okay, number 3, you're going to have to FOIL that all out. So I get 15 minus 45i plus 12i minus 36i squared. Okay, the i's you can put together. So what is that? 30 minus 33. And then I squared is a negative 1. So that would turn into a plus 36. So now I can put those two numbers together, the 15 and the 36. So 51 minus 33i. Here, let me, I think not for the test today.
I wanted not to test it either. Can I have a fancy calculator?
Okay, 4, you know what I get to do? I think I can FLOOT it, right? Do you recognize that? I mean, you could FOIL it, but you should probably get it canceled. Okay, so if I get to cheat here and just FLOOT, I'm going to go 49 minus 25i squared. I squared is negative 1. So now I can add 25. So that is just a number 74. Okay. When you see a fraction with an I in the bottom, it means we're going to have to conjugate. So the conjugate would be 6 plus 5i. And then whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top to essentially multiply by 1. The top will need a FOIL, but the bottom can get FLOOT. Okay, 54, nope. Abby, where's your fingers here? Yep, I'm right. Plus 45i, plus 18i, plus 15i squared. Good? And the flow on the bottom is 36 minus 25 I squared. Okay, so the I squared is negative 1. So that would cause a subtract 15. So 54 subtract 15 is 39. Plus, how many i's? 63 i's. And on the bottom, that makes this add 25. So the bottom is 61. So Rory, I think on that one question you were asking about, in standard form, it just asks you to separate them.
Okay.
Just like that. So I'm not, you won't run into that I won't make you have to do that step, but it just means you're always doing it like a number plus a number I. Okay, on this section, you're always trying to get I squareds out. So I squared to the, what's the most I can do out of that?
We don't have that paper.
What?
No.
Did it not photocopy?
Not
Okay, what's on the back? Is your back blank?
yeah.
Like the whole blank?
That's fine.
Yeah, so write it on there. I don't know what happened. Okay, so start with an I-43. How many I squareds can we do all together there? There's obviously going to be an extra one because 43 is odd. I squared to the 21. So that's 42. And another is 43. Okay, so now -1 to the 21st. Okay, what is that going to be? -1 to the 21st makes a negative and then I. Okay, number 2, you get an I to the 96. Okay, so this is going to be an I squared to the something evenly, right? Because 96 is even. What is that? 40. 46? Right? 48. Okay. So -1 to the 48th makes +1. Okay, number 3, I'll give you a chance to write it down since I didn't. -I, all of it, to the 9th. Okay, on these, let's not forget that this is a -1 to the 9th and an I to the 9th. You're going to have to take the coefficient gets to the 9th and the variable gets to the 9th. So this would be -1 when all is said and done, right? A negative to the 9th would be negative. And then I'm going to go into my I squared mode. So I can go I squared to 4, that makes 8. Then that makes 9. Okay, so -1 to the 4th. So negative to the 4th would be +1. So that's what I'm thinking altogether. Obviously, I'm assuming none of you are writing that step. That's fine, but I'm showing you what I'm thinking. So -I. All right, chance to write the next one down. 2I cubed. Okay, ready? I'm going to break this down coefficient variable. So coefficient would be a 2 cubed. Then I would get an I to the, remember how to do that with the exponents? 9. Then I will be getting a -1 to 10 and an I to the 10. Okay, what would this all come out to be right there? So this is just an 8, and this is what kind of 1? Positive, negative? Positive and a 8, so 8. I to the, and now what do you do with the exponent numbers? Add, so 19. Okay, now I'm ready to take out the I squareds. So this will be an odd amount, so I get 9, that makes 18, and then 1 more. Now I replace I squared with -1. So now that would be negative. So negative 8i. Okay, cubing a binomial, and I put one of these on your test, or 2. Nope, I think I just put 1. But so you're going to have to cube. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to write it out 3 times. Okay, ready? We're going to just forget that 1 for a second. Can we FOIL that? Just those 2, can you FOIL that out? So 1, are you okay if I do a -8i? Because I'm doing the O and the I together right now. Is that okay if I skip the 1 step? Plus 16i squared. Okay, now, do you know how to distribute? Whoops, what am I doing here? Do you know how to distribute this? You're going to have to do, how many units are you going to end up with when you're done this? Do you know how many combinations of stuff you're going to have? The simplification there first, yes. Yep. You do yours, and I'll do mine. You want to do the 16i right now? You can. Okay, I'll do it both ways. We're going to get 6 things. Okay, so 1 times 1. 1 times -4i. Now I'm going to do -8i times that bracket. Now I'm going to do the 16i squared. Okay, and some of you probably switched. Did you have a -15 -8i? Okay, so I'm okay if you either do all of your distributions. So this is doing all the distributions and then simplifying. This was simplifying and then doing another distribution. So whatever you like. Okay, so now I'm here if you picked this one. Okay, if you had picked this one, this would become a -48. So then I would end up with -47. That's what it came out to be. And Do you remember just what I cubed was? It's the same as negative I. So that would be plus 64I. So plus 52I. Same? Yep. Okay, and then obviously if you did this, I can quickly that was probably actually easier, but okay. I don't care which way you pick. This was the distribution and n going, and this was simplification into the middle of that and then keep going. Okay, do you still have room on the bottom of your page a little bit? I got to add a few more I questions here. Ready? What is the square root of negative 80 simplified or like split? How would you split that? So I'm going to do a root 80 and a root negative 1. Okay. Anybody know what magic number we can break 80 down by? 16. So 16 times 5 is 80. So this, when I'm done, the answer is going to be 4 root 5I. Okay, so I put one of those on your test. Okay, and then I think another thing I put on your test. What is the answer to this? Negative 11. Okay, so I'm not sure how much I put into your reviews. I don't think I put much in your reviews, but I have one of those on the test. Okay. Graph the following. Okay, ready? 60 degrees. So I'm going to be facing this direction right there. That's 60. I'm going to face that direction. So here I am facing, but I'm going to back up too. So that is where point P will land. So I could face that way, but I walked backwards. Okay, 5 pi over 2. Do we know where that is? Do you remember how to do that? Right? Because this would be like 2, 4, 6. So this is 5. So I'm heading in that direction right there. And I need to walk 3 rings out. So R would land there. And then the last one is negative pi. So I'm going backwards for pi. So I'm facing this. And I need to go out 1. Yes.
If, like, for the first one, like, does it matter if you counted, like, 2 of those spaces as 1 line?
Well, it's labeled here. Did I put mine on the wrong spot? Do you see what I mean? So it's like a scale, like how we do our XY scales. This scale would be half, right? Half, 1, 1.5, 2. Yeah. Okay, do... Do we know if I give you some crazy angle like that? Do we know where it lands? Do you remember that from pre-calc? 31 pi over 6. Do you remember? What? Okay, so this is what? 6 over 6. This is 12, 18, 24, 30. So I would be facing the 7 pi over 6. Do you remember how to do those? So in case I give you one that makes you rotate a few times or something. Express each as a they're each rectangular and we want to go to polar. So if you didn't know this, this is polar, by the way. When you have a radius and an angle, just like this. So this is polar. Okay, number 2a, -2, 5. So that's where I am. Now the radius, I don't think this is a good one because 25 and 4 makes 29. So not a square root. Okay, now I want that angle. So I'm going to do tan inverse of 5 over 2. Because tan is y over x or toa, opposite. And it does tell me degrees, so I guess that's what I'll switch my calculator to. 68.2. Okay, but that's not the angle. Look at where I am. How do I get the actual angle measurement? 180 minus Okay, so now I'm going to write my final answer. Root 29 is the radius, and we're heading out at a 111.8 degree angle. Okay, make sure your answer makes sense. It's in quadrant 2, obviously between 90 and 180 somewhere. Oh. Can I change this next question? I don't like that we're in the same quadrant. Let's go 2 negatives. Let's change up the quadrant. Sorry if you'd already started it. You can finish your own. Okay, so I'm going to go -3, -4. Okay, square 9, 16 is 25, so that's nice. We have a radius of 5. Okay, again, I get that angle by doing a tan inverse of 4/3. Again, I'm using either my y over x or the TOA, whatever resonates with you. So 53.1 degrees. So 5 comma, okay, that angle that I'm heading out at is not 53.1. So what am I going to do? I'm going to add 180 to it.
Did you ever, like, on test it, did you actually square a radian?
think on this question I just asked for degrees. Now I see the nearest degree, but so if we were doing it in radians, what would we have done? We would have just switched the mode. We would have tan inverse of 4/3. And then I add, instead of 180, I add a pi, right? Just add pi instead of 180. So that would be my answer. 5, 4.1 radians or whatever. Okay, now we're in polar and we want to go rectangle. So 120 degrees. So I'm heading out there. And I've gone out for 4. So now I'm going to make a triangle. All right, what's the angle inside my triangle? 60. And I got to figure out this y, and I got to figure out this x. Probably a good suggestion. Can we throw positives and negatives on this now before we forget? Because we just know by looking this is a positive y and negative x. Okay, so now I'm going to go, the cos of 60 equals x over 4. And I'm using the ka or x over r, which is on your formula sheet that I gave you, one or the other. Sine 60 is the y over the r. Okay, this one, I think I'm going to have to tell you, you need an exact answer. Okay, because 60 degrees is something I can get an exact answer on. So on your test, if it's something from the unit circle, you're going to have to write me. So what is the cos of 60? A half. So a half of 4 is 2. And what is the sine of 60? Root 3 over 2 times 4. So that would reduce. So 2 root 3. Okay, so now I'm going to write my answer with making sure I get the right positive negatives. Okay, next, 3 pi over 4. Do you know where you're heading when you do a 3 pi over 4? You're heading out that way. Oh, but you're going negative 3 out that way. So where do you go? You're actually over here. Right? Does that make sense? Because I went backwards from that direction. Alright, so that's where I am. Now, does anybody know what angle would be inside there? Looking at your 3 pi over 4. What angle is in that one? What's the reference? 45? Okay, positive x, negative y. Is it the 45? No.
It is.
Like, how did I get it?
No,
Or what?
but I kept using pi over 4 because I practiced it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, pi over 4. If you put pi over 4 in there, that's good.
Okay.
I'm just going to do degrees because it's just easier for my brain to think about. Okay, So cos 45 equals x over 3. Sine 45 equals y over 3. So I'm going to times them. So cos, hey, 45, so they're both just root 2 over 2. So 3 root 2 over 2. But making sure we are finalizing positives and negatives, etc.
When you do the equation with just the numbers in the brackets, though, it turns out that's the answer without finalizing. Because that's like.
Okay, say that again. And when you do the,
Like if you do the equation like the 3 and then in brackets cos 3 pi over 4 and then 3 sine 3 pi over 4, then it turns out that's the answer. I did it with the other one too.
3.
I thought I was doing it wrong, but I looked up and it was
Oh.
weird, and then I was like, but I got the same answer.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Is that fine? Like that would work on it?
Yes. That should. It
Like,
should, I
wouldn't get
think.
marked off for doing
No.
the equation.
I think it should always work. I'm just trying to think of it if it just happened to do that or if it should always work. Okay, so these are now polar and we are going to, oh sorry, they're in complex and we're going to get to polar. So if we want polar, this is how we want to end up. Okay, so negative 20 and 21. That's what that would look like. So it's always, the real part is x and the imaginary part is the y. Okay, so 21 squared, hypotenuse here. $29, exactly, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to get an angle right there. So I'm going to tan inverse 21 over 20. Oh, Zainab, you made me switch to radians before. I forgot to switch back. 46.4 degrees. Okay, I'm going to do 180 minus that. So my path is going on the 133.6 and we go out 29. Okay, 15, 8. I feel like this one is the magic 17. Okay, angle, tan inverse, 8 over 15, y over x, or OA. Okay, I'm getting 28.1, and then that's it, 'cause that's the angle. You're 28.1 out, 17, 28.1. Okay, and this last one, change to rectangular form. Okay, so this one, I will say exact values when I look at these numbers, as soon as you see numbers that we can do on our unit circle. Okay, so this is what you have done basically. Yeah, so it works. So cos of 240, I'm looking at a negative a half. And the sine of 240. Okay, so I'm going to times this by 7. So negative 7 halves minus 7 root 3 over 2 I.
For that question, like 4, do we not have to write it in that weird format unless it tells us to?
Yeah. It just said polar form, so that's all I did.
So that's just the coordinate then?
Yeah, so I don't even know what the other one's called, but I do have it on your test. Write it in this form. It would be, is this what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the name of that form is, but I do have one of those on the test, but I say write it like this. So then just follow the format and write it like that. Okay? Okay. Seven pi over 6. So we get there. So the cos is negative root 3 over 2. And the sine is negative a half. Okay, so when I do this, are we okay to understand the 2's will cancel? And the 4 will change to a 2? So negative 2 root 3 plus, nope, just kidding, minus. Minus 2i.